Showing or hiding Elementor elements could become a big deal, especially when you have to combine multiple conditions in order to decide whether an element shows or not. Gloo just made that easy with a just released fluid visibility. In a few minutes, you'll see why this is a game changer. Let's take a look. Now let's see how we can apply fluid visibility within a listing. As you can see, we have a listing prepared here. Let's come into the listing, the actual listing, and see how we can use fluid visibility right here. You have a post ID, which is just, of course, normal heading widgets, as you can see here. We want to compare it with something. We want to say if the post ID is greater than the value 100, then don't show this particular widget within this listing. Now let's come into the fluid visibility settings here. We're going to add a condition that says if post ID of listing item is greater than 100. The condition is now instead of contains, we're going to use here greater than, and the field would be the post ID, right? So we're just going to select post ID here, and the returned value we're going to say 100, because after it fetches the post ID, we want to check if it is greater than 100. So set the data type to numeric, because this is a numeric value we're dealing with. We hit update. We're going to come to the front end now and refresh this. As you can see here, nothing happens. And why? It's simple, because we've not added the fluid visibility condition to this particular widget. So let's go back there, select the widget, come into advanced, hit fluid visibility, click on enable. Remember to do this, and then select if post ID of listing grid is greater than 100. So then show this. We're going to hit update. We're going to come to the front end, refresh, see if post ID 1 goes away. That went away. Now we have this and this because they're way greater than 100. Now that's simple. Now let's see something that's a little more complicated. For this one, we're going to use another dynamic tag called ACF relationship field dynamic tag that's within fluid dynamic. Now we have about 3 posts, and in each of these posts we have created a field group for related posts. It's just an ACF field group, and we have a relationship field type here created. If we edit it just to see what we have here, we have the field name, which we're going to copy. We need that in a beat. We selected the field type as relationship, and we set that to fetch from post. So if we edit one of these posts to check, for example this hello world post here, and we scroll all the way down, we see the related post here. Now we're going to come back here into the listing, and we're going to select this and make this particular widget show if this post has any related items. To make that work, let's come into the settings here for fluid visibility and add a new condition here that says if this post has any related items. We're going to select the condition as is. We're going to select this as greater than. Greater than what? We'll select here straight up the related value as 0. We want to count the related items. That's why we need the dynamic tag that we just got. Before we do that, of course, we have to hit update and refresh. So we can now have that dynamic field. Once that's refreshed, let's come back into the settings again, select fluid visibility. Now if this is greater than 0, if what is greater than 0, let's select the dynamic tag. We'll come all the way down to ACF relation field tag. We're going to select it. We're going to add the relation field key. Remember, we copied it. We're going to add the output format. This time we're going to select array length. Array length simply means that when it's looking for a particular value in the field, it just gets all the number of the values. Like if there are 5 post IDs, it just counts the post IDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the array length will be 5 if there are 5 post IDs. Now the return value here, we're just gonna add ID because we want it to count the number of IDs, and we're gonna toggle off return enable 0 because we don't want it to put in the value 0 when there is nothing there. So just gonna turn it off. Now we have that counting the number of items within the relation field tag. So we're gonna select that. We're gonna update it. We're gonna come here to advanced for this particular widget just to add the fluid visibility. Enable it and select if this post has any related items. In other words, if the number of related items is greater than 0, then show it. Now we're gonna hit update. We're gonna come to the front end. We're going to refresh this just to see how many of these posts has related items. These does, these doesn't, these does. So you see here it outputs the number of the related items. It basically counts them. Now you're beginning to see the real power of fluid visibility here. I hope you're fired up about it. Let's see more. Let's come back here into the editor here for this particular listing. Now, we have this particular button here that says Get Gloo. We want to check if the post related to this current post has within it a meta field that also has the value Get Gloo. If that's getting complicated in your head, let's see how it works actually by taking a look at it. Now let's edit Hello World 2. Let's quickly edit that. Let's come down here and see what's the related field of Hello World 2. We have Hello World 2. The related post of Hello World 2 is Hello World 3. Great. Now let's edit Hello World 3 and see what's in Hello World 3, because that's actually what we want to check for. Hello World 3 doesn't have any related post, but it does have a call to action. Let's zoom this in a bit so you can get to see it. The call to action that says here, Get Gloo. You see it? Great. Let's zoom out. Now let's come back here into the listing. What we want to check for is if the current post has a related post that has the value of Get Gloo. To do that, let's come to the field group for that call to action and copy the field name. We'll come back here into the listing, and where we have this widget, we're gonna add the fluid visibility here, but of course we first have to create it. So we're gonna come to the settings, we're gonna come down to fluid visibility, and we're gonna create a new fluid visibility condition here. So we're gonna add one that says if current post has a related post with the value Get Gloo. Now we're gonna select the condition is. Here we're gonna select equal because we want to check for an exact value there. We're gonna select the dynamic tag, come all the way down, select Gloo's dynamic tag, ACF relation field tag. Select it. The relation meta key, remember, related post. The output format, we want it to output a particular value, so we're gonna select delimiter, and the delimiter is just it just means output all the values, but how do you want to separate the values after outputting them? And we're saying the delimiter here is a comma, so just output all of them and separate them in commas if they're more than one, of course. Now we're gonna select the return value here as a meta field. We're gonna add the meta field key, which is call to action. Great. You see how that works? Quite sleek, isn't it? We're gonna turn off enable 0. We don't need that, and we're gonna add the return value here, Get Gloo. So that's what we're comparing it with. We're gonna select the widgets, come into advanced, select fluid visibility, toggle it on, and select this particular condition that says if current post has a related post with the value of Get Gloo. Then if it does, hide this widget. So we're gonna hit update, we're gonna come to the front end, we're gonna refresh this, and we see it's hidden for this, it's not hidden for this, and it's not hidden for this. And why? Because Hello World 2 has a related post called Hello World 3, and Hello World 3 actually does have the value Get Gloo. Now this sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Now find the post related to this one, and then find within that one the value of a meta field and see if it has that value called Get Gloo. If it does, then hide it. But that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to actually show this if it has a related post which has in its meta value the value Get Gloo. So we're gonna say show. We're gonna hit update. We're gonna come here to the front end and refresh this to see if it now works the way we want it to, and voila, it does work, as that is the only post here with a related post that has the value Get Gloo. Awesome. Now let's show you one more thing that you can do within a listing, and this of course is by no means the limit, but it's just something you need to know. Now when you add a form in this way into a listing, and you want to add a fluid visibility condition to a particular form field, you would need the ID as we showed previously when we were talking about having this fluid visibility condition on a single page. But within a listing, it's a bit different. Let's see how that works. Now, when you select a form field, we're gonna get the ID of the form field because we're gonna use that to create our fluid visibility condition. However, when you add an ID here, that ID repeats in each of these listing grid items. So that ID of this email is email here, it's also email here, it's also email here. That causes two problems. One, a HTML problem, because by default you shouldn't have more than one same IDs on the page, so that's wrong by semantics. And second, it's just not gonna work because it's actually looking for the ID to know what condition to fire. So if the ID is the same in everything, then it becomes a problem. Now, to make the ID unique, here's something you can do. A simple trick: select your post ID here as the ID, and maybe just prepend it with something like email hyphen. So it's gonna be like email hyphen the actual post ID. So that becomes the post ID of the email field within this particular post. We're gonna create a fluid visibility condition here that says if email is organization email, it's org email. And we're gonna toggle on is form field. We're gonna get the form field ID. Of course, we can add it here manually. We have to do the same thing. Select post ID, select before, add email hyphen. Now we're gonna add the condition, which is contains, and the returned value is at gloo.ooo, because we want to find if this particular form field has at gloo.ooo, then yes, fire this condition, it's correct. Now let's come back here into the form field. We're gonna come down here to message, because this is the one we actually want to put the condition on. So we're gonna select the action and say show this if email is organization email. So it's going to check that first and then show or hide this particular field. Let's refresh this. Let's see how it actually does work within the listing here. So if we add an email like you@gmail.com, nothing happens. But if you add you@gloo.ooo, then the message field for this particular listing item alone shows. Now that makes sense, and that is something you can apply when you want to put a form into a listing. That was fluid visibility of Gloo's Fluid Dynamic. We'll let your creative mind decide how best to use this. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, join our Facebook community, visit our website at gloo.ooo, and you will stay up to date. For now, take care.